YAN. Thank you so much for joining us, Sister Mutiat. I'm excited about this topic. I feel like a lot of us can learn so much from you and learn how to help our sisters that are going through this situation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. قال ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Yeah, thank you so much, sister. It's my pleasure to be here today. I hope Allah makes this beneficial for me and for every other person listening today, inshallah.
No, the pleasure is all mine, to be honest with you. So let's just jump right into this topic. So why this topic? Why is this topic so close to you? If you could just expand on your experience a little bit.
Yeah, so you see, we have a lot of widows in our society. That is a fact that is true. And it's very peculiar to me because I am a widow. You know, I've been living through it for 5 years. I know it is not easy. I know the challenges are much. I know a lot of women do not feel comfortable talking about it. I know a lot of women need help, you know, being as widows. I know a lot of women are very vulnerable. And I know that so many women have been going through a lot as a result of them being widows. And, you know, I take it upon myself, you know, to take this course to help other women through education, through coaching, you know, through mentoring, to help people. You know, we don't want to wait until people get depressed or people commit suicide or do what can harm them or harm the society before we help one another. And that is why this topic is very important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how do we help our sisters that are going through this situation? How do we comfort them, first of all?
Yeah, so first of all, it comes with understanding who widows are or what kind of trial this trial is. And we bring everything back to the Quran and Sunnah. Allah said it in the Holy Quran in many verses. I'm going to be reciting some to us today, emphasizing the facts towards that we will be tried, we will be tested, and everybody's test and trials are different. So losing one spouse is just one of the many trials that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already told us that we should expect as believers, and that we would not be left alone, you know, and say that we believe if we are not tested, if we are not tried. So widowhood is one of those trials that Allah has already promised us. In Quran 29 verse 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that do the people think that they will be left to say, we believe, and they will not be tried? So this verse alone tells us that we all will be tried. So the trials will come in different ways. And like I said, being a widow or losing one spouse is one of those trials. Also in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 155, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us there that, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives, but give good tidings to the patient. So in this particular verse, Allah is telling us that for sure is going to test us. And this is to tell people who feel that, oh, a trial or test is like a punishment or is something terrible. It's not always, it's not that. Allah has already promised us and prepared our mind that is going to test us. And in this particular verse, it's telling us the type and the kinds of tests that is going to bring to us. Loss of wealth. So when business goes bad or you lose your money, you know, it can be a test. And then when you lose someone dear to you and close to you, it is also a test. So how do we go through it? He has already told us that we should give glad tidings to those who are patient. So being patient and persevering.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, sister.
Yeah. So being patient and persevering is one of the things that we have to take note of when we go through this stage of widowhood. Now, a widow knows our situation. She knows what is going on. What about the people in the society? They don't know. Even though they care, even though they want to help, they may not know how directly they want to help, because the person going through it is the widow. Just like someone that has lost the child also, you can't quantify the pain. You can't explain, you can't, a widow would have had a relationship with her husband. They could be very close, have kids together, have good times together. And all of a sudden, something happens and the spouse is taken away. And she's left with the burden of taking care of herself, taking care of her kids, if she has one or more of them.
Right.
And then, just bringing herself to life again to go about living her life all alone. It's a very traumatic and very tragic experience. And it only takes, let me just say, the grace of Allah to be able to go through it for the widow and the kids.
Yes.
And the society, has a lot of roles to play in this.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more in terms of society having a part to play in how to help widows, not only just to comfort them at that time, but also see that they are successful, see that their children are, taken care of, right? But can I just ask you, sister, a lot of sisters are going through, having lost their spouse, and sometimes they're just kind of stuck, they're just so sad, they just can't jump out of this depression, and sometimes people tell them, just go read the Quran, go pray, you'll feel better, you'll feel at peace. And sometimes you don't, right? And how do you respond to a sister that says, I'm just not happy with this test that Allah made me. I understand, we have to be patient. I understand. I read the ayats, in the Quran. I just don't feel happy. Does this mean I have low iman, or is my faith being questioned? How do you respond to them?
Yeah, first of all, I want people to know that spirituality is really very different from emotions or mental depression. Yeah. So someone can be very sound Islamically, can know all the Quran offhand, can be very spiritual and still be depressed. So depression is totally different. And I want people to understand it. And our religious leaders should also try to make people know this. It is fine to be sad. It is normal to have emotions. It is normal to seek mental health. It is not, you cannot equate it to religiosity. Emotions are different, and the way it eats is very different. I mean, I was praying, I thought I was fine, and I still had suicidal thoughts. And to me then, it wasn't like suicide. I saw maybe taking my life then as maybe a gateway. I'm trying to help myself to end this sadness, help my kids. I really so much wanted to be with my husband. So I didn't see it as suicide, even though it was suicide. That was mental depression. A lot of people are going through this. And we should be very careful how we talk to people, how we shouldn't assume that, but she calls herself a Muslim, so why would she think of suicide? No, they are so different, because the mind works in different way. And that is why we have experts, we have qualified people, we have mental health experts that can actually diagnose and help somebody going through mental depression. It is real, and it's something that if it is not handled and treated mostly medically, it can lead to disastrous effects. So when a woman is undergoing a tragedy, she needs help. She needs to get a coach. She needs to be counseled. She needs a therapist. And sometimes she could need to see a mental health expert. We pray and we don't hope that it gets to that level of depression. But sometimes it gets to depression, and if it does, if she started having thoughts like, I want to take my life, or I don't find any meaning living in this world, we should not tell them to keep reading the Quran. Yes, we know reading the Quran is good, but we have to, in addition to that, tell them to seek mental health, because they are both different. They are
Yes,
really, really different. And we all grieve, in different ways.
absolutely. And there's absolutely no shame in admitting
Yeah.
that, that's
Yeah.
the other thing, it's okay, and I just like one other thing that I wanted to say that, and I loved what you said about grief affects people differently. Some people, it can be 6 months where they're in bed,
Yeah.
they're grieving, and then they're okay. They go to work. Some people, it takes them 5 years. Some people, they're okay, and then 3 years later, they're triggered by something, and all
Yeah.
the emotions comes back. So it's okay to say, I need help. It's okay. I think Sister Mutiat, you'll agree with me to say, I'm praying, I'm reading the Quran, but I'm still sad, right? And
Yeah.
that feeling is okay. So how, like, as a sister, as a friend, how can we support some a widow? Like, what are like actual things that we can do to support them?
Okay. Firstly, I don't pray that any of our friends lose their spouses, but
Yeah.
yeah, but in case we get to meet someone who's just lost a spouse, she needs a lot of help.
Yes.
As friends, what can we do? I recommend strongly that we get her a counselor or a coach, first of all, someone that has experience and someone that has the expertise to help her. She needs to be told some things. And let me tell you, there's some things that your friends cannot tell you. She can't tell you when she's, for example, she needs intimacy. She can't tell you because there is no way you can help her. She needs someone that has gone through that stage and that is striving well to tell her what to do, the practical things to do. She won't tell you when her kids just wake up in the middle of the night and start shouting, oh, where's my daddy? Where's my daddy? Where's my daddy? And maybe she will also break down. So mother and child needs help. So she needs a counselor. She needs the spirituality aspect of it is there. She needs to pray. We need to encourage her to pray to move closer to Almighty Allah, because the time of trial is a time that one should, seek to be closer to Allah. And obviously, definitely Allah is always there. But in addition to that, she needs counseling. She needs someone by her side at that time, because what you would be telling her as a friend, oh, sorry, oh, don't cry, take it easy. What you'll be telling her is good. But what a counselor or a coach will be telling her is going to be different. It's going to be more practical. And she would so badly need somebody that has gone through that thing to tell her, to assure her that this is okay, that you know what, I can still survive 6 months after this without him. I can survive 2 years. I can survive 5 years. Maybe that is all she needs to hear, because at that point in life, she might think, you know what, this is the end of it. I don't think I can go on again. I can. How can I take care of 2 kids, 4 kids? How can I? My husband is the one always working. He's the breadwinner. How can I? He's very close to the kids. How can I? I can't even drive a car. I can't even do this, So many women break down and feel that, you know what, at this point, I can't go further again. And that was what happened to me also when my husband died. My husband was very close to me. We were very, very close. I was doing like almost everything. So at the point, after his death, I just thought of everything and I told myself, you know what? I can't go on. Like, it is not possible for me to live life alone again. So let me just do myself this favor. Let me do my kids this favor and let me go meet my husband. And that was suicide. And I never thought it as suicide. And I
Yeah.
was praying and I thought I was closer to Allah, but I had those thoughts. So, the widow needs to hear those things, those reaffirming words, those practical tips. She needs to meditate. She needs to go through some stress management. She needs someone to really help her in massaging her brain and her thoughts. Because
Mm-hmm.
at that time, our thoughts are very, very powerful. It is the thoughts that leads to action. If she's not guided aright in her thoughts, it could lead to, it could have effects, yeah, even on our kids. If she is not well treated, if she's not in the best state of mind, she can pass that aggression down to our kids. And these young kids also need help. They're
Right.
also grieving. They're also traumatized. So if the woman, and that is why I stress so much that the woman, first of all, she needs all the help she can get. So when she is well, normal and balanced, she'll be able to take care of our kids very well. She'll be able to help the kids to distress, because these kids are also going to go through a lot of things. So the friends around her have to help her in this. Apart from helping her in maybe getting groceries, taking care of the kids, all those physical things, you really, really need to help her mentally, because it's when she's sound mentally that she can function well, and then she doesn't even need to rely on you. But if she's not mentally okay, if she's not strong enough, if her thoughts are not so positive, if those affirmations are not so positive and rooted in her brain, she is not going to be able to like move forward in life successfully.
Exactly. Now, talking about children, so first of all, as a mother, how do you help your child to go through grief?
Okay, thank you so much. So when grief happens, okay, so for example, for me, when mine happened, I was enrolled with a group called Bereaved Families of Ontario. So the Bereaved Families of Ontario, they have the kids section, they have the adult section where they talk and do activities and things like that. So the kids get to meet kids that have lost one or two parents, so they know that there are some kids that are also like them. They don't feel like, oh, it's just me. So they have activities for kids, and this is very important. The widow mom needs to seek out groups, organizations, counselors that will help her in this scenario, first of all. Then number two, she herself has to really take on the wheel of helping our kids. And I say this because it goes a long way. The kids look up to their mom. You are the only one that they see right now. They need to hear some things. So what I used to do in my own case is that having prepared myself mentally, I pass it on to my kids. We talk about my husband very well. Though it's not easy, it wasn't easy in the beginning, but I made them know. I make them create drawings, we create programs, we talk about him, and I made them to have these mindsets and thoughts that their father is in a greater place, is making a home for them in Al-Jannah with Allah. So your father is technically not dead, he just moved to stay in another place. So if the woman is not mentally well and prepared to, tell the kids this, it's not going to transform to them. And there are also some things, it's good to cry, to grieve, but I avoid crying in the presence of my kids. I avoid it as much as possible, because you want them to see this strong pillar in the person of a parent. So if you break down, what will happen to these young kids? So mentally, you see why I emphasize why it's very, very important for the woman to be strong, because it's going to automatically translate to the kids.
Can I ask, so a lot of sisters, unfortunately, they have teenagers, and teenagers, as you know, it's not an easy age, and they're not willing to be open, or at least not open with their mom. So how do you help them grieve in particular?
I have two teenagers. Alhamdulillah, I try to get them to talk. So I think we should do more of like family engagements. Take them out on vacation, have a meet time with them, make the kids your own best friend. I know some kids are very, especially in the teenage age, it's kind of like affects them and they want to be alone and all that. But I try to create a lot of pockets of, family time with them. We just to the park alone with them. Sometimes I even do it like individually for them. I take this kid alone out, just me and you. Then I take that one alone, individually. I think it is very important to try to do this. And every kid, every mother knows what their child wants. So you should know what triggers them, what makes them happy, and you have to work on that. So it's what makes them happy or what excites them. Maybe your child loves soccer, take him for that soccer outing and use that opportunity to like have a me time with them, because we need to be very strong with our kids, and we have to be very intentional with parenting. So nothing comes between me and the kids, and I do this intentionally because I know that this is highly needed. So we have to create that bond. There's so many ways to create that bond with them, especially for kids that have lost a parent. Also, another way to do it is going through the kids' friends. So if your friend your child has a kid that he loves so much, try to be friends with the mom of the kid, or even with the kid himself. So in that way, you're going to be you are going to be going through them to get to your son. So you have to be best friend with your child's best friend. I try to do that a lot, and it creates the bond just to make the kids open up to you, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about family engagement. Um, what about our younger sister who have very younger children? Let's say they lost their father at the age of 1 or 2 years old, and now they can't remember. So how, sometimes we do have sisters that feel so sad because they feel like their child doesn't really have that experience as their older siblings did with their father. How do you talk to them, or how do you answer the question about when you see, Father's Day, for example, or they see other fathers picking their sons up from, their daughters or sons up from school, and they feel a little bit sad when they're in grade 4 years old, 5 years old, kindergarten, right? How do you talk to younger kids about their dad?
Yeah, so my husband died when my daughter was 3 years old, and the other one was 5 years old, and like that. So they were both very young
Very
at that